I seem a little nervous. There's a reason for that. Anyway, I'm very glad to be here. I hope everybody's retreat is going well. Thank you for all the work Yokoji put into making this happen, and thanks everybody for coming, making this happen as well. So much appreciation there. I've mostly been practicing in the Theravadan mindfulness school of Buddhism. And I thought today I would talk about a classic teaching from the early suttas, supposedly from the Buddha, and it's called the Five Hindrances. And it is forces in the mind that often occur on retreat and also off retreat. I'll just list them first and then I'll go into a little more detail. So, desire, the wanting mind; aversion, the mind that isn't happy with what is occurring; restlessness, anxiety; spinning mind, at least for me; sloth and torpor, the mind that is sluggish, perhaps sleepy; and lastly, supposedly the greatest one of all is doubt. So these are forces in the mind that the Buddha felt were the main ones, or the main categories that can beset us on a retreat and off retreat. It's kind of nice to know that 2,500 years ago, the Buddha himself felt these forces were there, because I would imagine some of you, all of you, have felt some of these already on this retreat. So you are not alone. So wait a minute. There's a simile he used. If you would imagine a pond or a lake, and with sense desire, the lake would be covered with somewhat like a red dye. You can't see the bottom. It's full of this desire or this wanting mind, wanting things to be different than they are. Aversion. The water is boiling. So something's very wrong, at least your perception of it is very wrong. There's not enough clarity there. Sloth and torpor. Algae, stagnation. Restlessness. Pool is stirred up by wind. The surface of the water is just churning. Doubt. The water is muddy. No clarity there. So this was a talk he would give often to his monks. So if you're feeling any of these now, you're in good company. So desire. Not all desire is unskillful. The desire to be healthy, the desire for connection with other people, the desire to grow in wisdom and compassion, positive forces that motivate us, unskillful desires, addictions, greed in the mind, overly ambitious, and just a general unsatisfied inner hunger, that wanting. Sometimes the simile for that is the hungry ghost, where it has an enormous body that constantly needs fulfilling, but the mouth is very small. And so that it goes through life just constantly trying to fulfill this desire that just is appearing constantly in its experience. Someone like my dog around food would eat himself silly if given the opportunity. It's the wanting mind. the mind that grasps for things, that seems to fulfill or would take care of that wanting mind. So as I was preparing this, one of the things I came across, it's not that hard, especially in our society, to fill a desire. Say you want a piece of candy. It's there for you somewhere. I could find it. Once you fulfill the desire, it's not the candy, really, that causes you any satisfaction. It's that moment after you've eaten it, the letting go of the grasping for it. Just letting go of the grasping for it. So I'd encourage you, when I'm sure desires, wanting mind will occur around anything. For me, it's that first cup of coffee in the morning. That's a big want. And yes, the coffee is good, but it's also the letting go of that want or that desire when I actually have that cup of coffee in my hand. So it's worth considering, worth looking at. And once again, the differentiation between those desires that are skillful and those desires that are just part of that grasping mind that happens to many of us or all of us. Aversion, something we dislike in our experience. Knee pain, boredom, something going on in the mind is spinning, resistance to that. All part of aversion. Anger. Constantly occurring, not constantly, but definitely we've all probably experienced that in our city and also on the retreat. One of the antidotes to aversion is just knowing that it's present. For all of these, actually. The mindfulness of knowing that they're present in your experience. And one of the most powerful antidotes, I came across this, I think, on my own, just in my own experience, is loving kindness and compassion practice. You're unhappy for some reason. Self-compassion. This is just the way it is, you know. I'm imperfect. Everything's not going well for me or whatever. I have this resistance to things. Been very helpful to me. And for others, the situations we consider to be outside ourselves. The traffic jam. The drive, at least for me, the drivers that cause me fear and anxiety. I'm retired now, but when I was working, I live in Long Beach and I worked in San Pedro for over 30 years. So my commute was over those two bridges. The new one, which I've forgotten the name of it, used to be the Gerald Desmond, and the second one is Vincent Thomas Bridge. And driving through there was crazy. But after a while, rather than be so resistant to what was going on and being angry, I would just think of my fellow drivers, what they must be going through, why they needed to drive that way, why they needed to be fast, where their jobs were, perhaps all the way from San Pedro all the way downtown Long Beach or downtown Los Angeles. And so I started doing metta practice, compassion practice. And my levels of aversion on that drive diminished. And I really would arrive at work in a much different frame of mind than being all tossed up and angry and, thinking ill will towards my fellow human beings. Anyway, the aversion in the mind. Sloth and torpor. I always get that wrong. I used to call it topor. You just lack it. Sluggishness in the mind. You lack energy. Sleepiness. You come on retreat. You've been busy taking care of all the business in the city, the drive. You get here and all of a sudden, the mind just starts to closed down. Some of that's just natural, right? Some of that's just the way it is. Come into a situation like this, it's quiet, peaceful. Sangha is around you, the energy is good, and just the mind just wants to sleep and settle. Honoring that part, right? Knowing that may occur, not necessarily a bad thing. We're used to being stimulated quite a bit out there in the world. I guess I'm not going to call it the real world, but our regular world. How many times do you look at your phone during the day? How much TV time is there? Radio time? And just the complications of living in the year 2022. You come to a retreat center, and all of a sudden, you don't have the electronics. You don't have a car to drive. You don't have as much stimulation. It's natural for sloth and torpor to sort of settle in a little bit. Some of the ways of working with it. On the cushion in the hall, really paying attention to your experience. Many of us use the breath as a primary meditation object. Noticing the breath even in more detail. Noticing when the in-breath ends and there's a pause and the out-breath begins. Trying to keep your mindfulness, your attention sharp enough to know that. Feeling the warmth or the coolness of the air coming in and the warmth of the air releasing. Really refining your attention a little bit. I'm a big one for sounds, especially here with the birds and the wind and the trees. You have a little bit of samadhi concentrations beginning to develop, but you're still sort of sinking a little bit, or there's a little bit of restlessness. I love opening up to the sounds, just listening, seeing them arise, seeing them pass, the whispering. To me, it's very comforting, and it also can be a little bit stimulating, a little bit, brings a little clarity to mind. It gets me out of my own personal drama. So I use sounds quite a bit. Restlessness and agitation. The spinning mind, the worrying mind. I'm sure that's not uncommon for many of us. We've been trained to think. Very much the way our society is, where our educational system is. I spent 35 years as a middle school and high school teacher. And my job was to train young people to think, really, especially at the end. I was teaching more advanced placement college material and analytical thinking, all this. But the point of that is we're very, very trained to think a lot. And when we come into a situation like this, where thinking will be present, but that's not our primary activity. In some ways, there's going to be some momentum there. It's going to keep moving. Part of that is to honor it. I teach the Wednesday night group for Long Beach Meditation. And one of my instructions is always think of what that mind has done for you today. If you're sort of feeling restless or it's not settled, think of what all that mind did for you today and has done for you. Made a living, kept you safe, kept you healthy, solved problems. So give it some time to settle down. Self-compassion again. The idea, this is what's happening in my experience. So that's a little bit of wise reflection on the mind, the way it workings of our mind. And sometimes, at least for me, this is kind of a basic mindfulness instruction. Rather than fight with it, turn toward it. Especially on retreat when the mind has settled a bit, turn toward it. Notice the energy of that in the body. Where is it manifesting in the body? What does the energy feel like in the mind? Is it all content, or can you just step away from it and just sort of feel the energy of it in the mind? That's been pretty fruitful for me, because I tend to have a very busy mind. Always thinking, always contemplating. And supposedly, and I can reflect on your own experience, the most powerful one of the hindrances is doubt. Perhaps you're new to retreat, you're new to meditation, and you think, wow, this is a lot harder than I thought. I'm not finding peace. I'm not finding joy. Look at all these people around me. They're all silent. They're sitting perfectly, and here I am. Maybe I'm not good. Maybe this isn't the right practice for me. I don't know about this Zen stuff, all this clacking and walking around in circles. I don't know. Doubt, right? Doubt. So we think we just don't know if we can do it or if this is right for me. Ways to overcome doubt. Practice. Have a regular meditation practice. See the benefits. See what it does in your life. Find inspiration for practice. Plenty of books out there, plenty of teachings out there, plenty of good teachers out there too, as well, right? We're lucky at Long Beach Meditation to have so many good teachers. Thank them all that are here. Appreciate it. There is something has been called a multiple hindrance attack. So you have your restlessness, and then you have your doubt, and then it just goes on and on. Perhaps sounds like it's in your experience as well. Knowing it's there. Having some mindfulness on it is helpful. So this would all be in the large category of, the Pali word for it is dukkha. The English translation is usually suffering, but that seems to me and some other teachers a little bit too rugged, too strong. There's a teacher in San Diego, Thanissaro Bhikkhu, Theravadan tradition, he's a monk. He likes to translate that as stress, which seems to me a little more closer certainly there's suffering. I'm not saying there's not suffering, but certainly closer to the day-to-day experience of this dukkha would be stress. And in the Buddha's time, the analogy he used, well, you can picture 2,500 years ago an ox cart. And then, of course, you have the axle on the axle, and you have the two wheels. And dukkha, for him was, or one of the ways he described it, was the axle on the wheel was slightly out of place, out of round. So as the cart is going down the road, there's this little bit of bump, a little bit of bump, a little bit of bump, a little bit of bump. And so one of the marks of existence was this dukkha. So that seems to be baked into our experience. So once again, something to contemplate. So that's dukkha. There's good news. There's something called sukha, which is an inner joy that's not dependent on sensual pleasures, outside pleasures. And it's available to us. When the hindrances aren't that powerful. Let me step back a second. We tend to emphasize, I'm just going to call them the hindrances, sort of the negativities that occur in our experience. One teacher calls it, we Velcro to the negativity, and we Teflon bang right off the pleasant. It's supposed to be evolutionary in that when things were much more dangerous, hunter-gatherer times, which was most of our human experience, that we needed to be constantly aware of what was going on. That's the phrase that was often used. When you're out looking for lunch, you had to be quite aware, or you could easily become lunch. So we have this sort of proclivity to be constantly restless and worry and things like that. It's sort of evolutionary. And when the pleasant experiences arise, when the mind, we don't tend to put as much emphasis on them. I would encourage you on the retreat here, probably you're going to experience sukha. You're going to experience some joy. And it may just be as simple as many of us walking outside last night after our last sit and looking at the sky. It was beautiful. Hearing the birds. Sukha. Inner joy. You might notice things being very vivid. This always happens to me after being on retreat. The colors are very vivid, the sounds are very vivid. Enjoy it. You earned it. The hindrances aren't foremost in your mind. Just the selfless nature of what's arising around you. I mean, obviously we have the natural world out there, but just being with what's happening, being with the rhythm of the retreat, the meals, the nature, the sangha around us. Just sort of settling into that a little bit. It can bring a lot of inward joy, at least it does for me. It's possible also on retreat to have a bit of samadhi or concentration to the point where the hindrances actually get suppressed. They're not in your experience on the cushion. And an inner joy can arise. just that seclusion. Term that's often used as bliss can be experienced. It may be fleeting, but it's good to notice. It's good to notice in your experience that it's occurring. Enjoying the simplicity of things, especially on retreat. Just not having to do so much. You have your half hour. We have our half-hour tea break or whatever, and you can sit in a chair and listen to the birds. Anyway, inner joy. It's in our experience. Sukha. So, renunciation as well, brings inner joy. How many of you are truly missing your cell phone or your car or your whatever it is? It's not here. Maybe there's a joy to that. It's the simplicity of things. I found a Zen reading. I figured this would be more appropriate here because we're in a Zen hall. I don't know what the exact name of. Okay, it is said that there are 4 kinds of horses. So, perhaps you've heard this before. I'm sure many of you have. But I like it. I like to hear these things. So, it is said there are 4 kinds of horses: excellent ones, good ones, poor ones, and bad ones. The best horse will run slow and fast, right and left, at the driver's will, but foresees the shadow of the whip. The second best will run as well as the first one does, just before the whip reaches its skin, The third one will run when it feels pain on its body. The fourth will run after the pain penetrates to the marrow of its bones. You can imagine how difficult it is to be the 4th horse, to learn how to run. When we hear this story, almost all of us want to be the best horse. If it is impossible to be the best one, we want to be the second best one. That is, I think, the usual understanding of the story and Zen. You may think that when you sit in Zazen, you will find out whether you are one of the best horses or one of the worst horses. Here, however, there is a misunderstanding of Zen. If you think that the aim of Zen practice is to train you to become one of the best horses, you will have a big problem. This is not the right understanding. If you practice Zen in the right way, it does not matter whether you are the best horse or the worst one. When you consider the mercy of the Buddha, how do you think Buddha will feel about the 4 kinds of horses? He will have more sympathy for the worst one than for the best one. When you are determined to practice Zazen with the great mind of Buddha, you'll find the worst horse is the most valuable one. In your very imperfections, you will find the basis for your firm way-seeking mind. Those who can sit perfectly usually take more time to obtain the true way of Zen, the actual feeling of Zen, the marrow of Zen. But for those who find great difficulties in practice, Zen will find more meaning of it. So I think that sometimes the best horse may be the worst horse, and the worst horse may be the best horse. If you study calligraphy, you will find that those who are not so clever usually become the best calligraphers. Those who are very clever with their hands often encounter great difficulty after they reach a certain stage. This is also true in art and in Zen. It is true in life. So when we talk about Zen, we cannot say he is good or he is bad in the ordinary sense of the words. The posture taken in Zazen is not the same for each of us. For some, it may be impossible to take the cross-legged posture. But even though you cannot take the right posture, when you arouse your real way-seeking mind, you can practice Zazen in its true sense. Actually, it's easier for those who have difficulties in sitting to arouse the true way-seeking mind than those for who can sit easily. So I really like that. I came across that many years ago. have a guided meditation for you, but I thought we'd open up for questions and answers first. Anybody have any comments or questions or anything? Yes, Ellie?
Thanks for the talk, Brad. Really enjoyed it. And you mentioned, I think, benefits of practice or benefits of meditation. I was wondering if you could share one or two that you've seen from your practice.
Well, there's a lot, but I think, the thing that rings true for me when I said the sukha, the clarity and the vividness, I just love it. I just love it. Just to be alive. Thank you for. There's two. There's one. There's two things. One great desire. The Buddha mentioned this, or the one true desire, the desire to awaken. The desire to awaken. And the other one is great doubt. That perhaps you've had some insight or something, some intuition, and then the mind kind of closes back down, and you're going through your life and you think, there's more to this, there's more to this, there's more to be discovered. There's a mystery here. And I think I came across that fairly early in my life, my early 20s. And so it's that dropping into the mystery. So what's going on here, And the nuts and bolts of it, the hindrances don't bother me as much. I think I was a lot angrier when I was younger. I know I was. And it's hard to tell, I don't know. But I've been practicing since my early 20s, not every single day, but it's been part of my life. And, one teacher called it the half-life of anger, is shorter. It doesn't go away, but it's shorter. And the half-life of a lot of other stuff is shorter. And so when things clear, it's just wonderful being alive, when there's not so much suffering. And anyway, that's been my experience. So thank you for asking the question. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? I'm going to make you meditate again. So I have it's only about 10 minutes, 12 minutes of meditation. The title of it is The Earth is My Witness. And it's based upon a story about the Buddha's awakening. And in the context of what I've been talking about, on the night of the Buddha's awakening, he was visited by Mara. Mara is personified as a demon of some sort in the Hindu mythology of the time. And Mara assailed the Buddha with all these hindrances, if you will, the desires, the fear, the anxiety, all this. He assailed him all night long and couldn't shake the Buddha from his night watch, or the watch of the night. And then finally, Mara said, all right, I've tried everything with you to keep you away from this understanding, this awakening. What right do you have to awaken, Buddha? Who are you that you think you can awaken to this great truth? And so the story goes, the Buddha put his hand on the ground and said, the earth is my witness. Meaning just by the very fact that I'm aware and I'm alive, I have a right to this. I have a right to awaken. So I really like that story. And this is sort of a little bit of nuts and bolts of practice. You will have a body scan in it, and then you'll switch over to some sort of a naming exercise a little bit. So I hope you enjoy it. So once again, it'll only go about 10, 12 minutes here. Sit in a way that is comfortable and stable, with a sense of ease and dignity. Be still and alert, mindful as you take your seat on the earth. After you've taken your seat and feel stable, take several deep breaths to release any obvious tension you are carrying so that you can be even more fully present. Like Buddha on the night of his enlightenment, consciously acknowledge your place on the earth. Let the earth become witness to your right to be here as a human being. Feel yourself grounded and stable in your posture. Feel the support of the earth as you sit upon it. And at the same time, feel yourself as a part of the earth. Solid like a mountain and rooted as if your roots go down into the earth, all the way to the center of the earth. Now, in the first part of this practice, release your burdens as you sit firmly seated on the earth, solid like a mountain. Begin to release the burdens and difficulties that you carry and let them return to the earth. Bring your attention first to your head. Become aware of the great river of thoughts, plans and memories, the expectations and fears. Let all these drain down through your body and back into the earth. Feel any tension in your face, the unwept tears behind your eyes, the tension of fear and anger in your jaw. Let this too drain down through your body and back into the earth. Now roll your head in a circle and feel all the cares carried in your neck begin to flow down through your body and back into the earth. Now release whatever weight you carry in your shoulders, the backpack of tensions, the heaviness, the tightness. Let them flow through your body back into the earth. Now relax your arms, and they feel how they've carried your struggles, your needs, your conflicts, your difficulties. Release all of the tension down through your elbows, your wrists, your hands, your fingers. And as you touch the earth, let the tensions you have held drain out of your body back into the earth. Now bring your attention to the front and back of your chest and your great heart within. Feel the burdens, aches, betrayals, and longings you carry there. And one by one, release these two into the earth. Take your time. Let your heart soften and your chest open, and feel your breath come freely to fill the open space. Move down now to your stomach and sense all that you hold there, all of the tightness around your anxiety and worry, and let it all release and drain down through your body into the earth. Now bring your attention down through your spine to your pelvis. Feel how your pelvis supports your torso, just as the earth holds you. Notice how your spine and pelvis also carry tensions, burdens, fears, traumas, conflicts. Let them all go and gradually drain through you into the earth. Now bring your attention to your thighs and legs and feet that have carried and moved you and have absorbed so many of your tensions and burdens and difficulties. Slowly let these tensions and burdens and difficulties too drain into the earth. When you have released whatever tension you can from the whole of your body, sweep your attention from top to bottom. Feel the new clarity and steadiness and strength. Your body becomes present, unified, solid like a mountain. Let it rest on the earth as if a part of the earth. Become aware of the deep calm and restfulness that grows in your body as it clears. Let your mind quiet and your heart open into silence and stillness. With the earth as your witness, you can now sit as centered as Buddha, halfway between heaven and human form. In the next part of this meditation, you sit like a Buddha, becoming a compassionate witness to all things. Start by resting in a space of mindful awareness. With the steady witnessing, become aware of the changing sensations in your body. Relax with them. After a time, notice the waves of your feelings and thoughts and the coming and going of sounds in your environment. Let all these experiences rise and fall like waves of the ocean while you rest in awareness itself. To steady this witnessing, notice the natural wave of the breath underneath all the other waves. Notice how the breath breathes itself. Feel its natural rhythm, its coolness in your nostrils, its tingling in the back of your throat, the rise and fall of your chest and belly. And as you feel your breath come and go, let all the other waves of experience the sensations, feelings, and thoughts rise and fall like waves of the ocean around the breath. Become the witness of the breath and all that arises and passes away around the breath. If a strong experience carries your awareness away from the breath, let go of the breath and witness this new wave with the same spacious attention that you give into your breath. As if to bow to it, name it gently. Sadness, excitement, longing, planning, remembering, fear, tingling, or coolness in the body, sounds. Whatever arises, receive it with mindful and kind attention. Name it gently. And to feel the wave move through your body and mind, and then watch it pass away. When it passes away, return to the breath and rest again in the open space of awareness. Let the body be solid like a mountain, and the mind open like the sky. Rest on the earth like a Buddha, and become acquainted with your capacity to witness all that arises, to remain centered and stable and steady in the midst of it all.